Hey, and good morning. Welcome to APL Power Hour. Um, we have in the stream chat question: how do you post tomorrow's office hours? I do not believe that there are office hours tomorrow. Um, oh, I got to my camera a little bit so I'm centered. My big old palmer. Uh, so I don't believe we have office hours tomorrow. We may have Alexa and Friends. Office hours are Tuesdays. But you can always, this is a good chance to push this. Alexa dot design slash slash. You can go to our Slack channel at any time. As I've said, official channel, but it does definitely help. Community members are quite often there, very active. Some great community members like uh, we also have uh, Dot B, who is Alexander Martin of uh, APL.Ninja, and others who join us on the Slack and help out just because they love the community, part of the community. We really appreciate that. So people show up there. Great community members show up there. So, yeah, the Slack. And as usual, we will do the Slack 10 for APL Power Hour after hours to to follow up on any stuff from the Q&A and extend that portion a little bit. And speaking of Q&A, let me pull up my screen here. What are we doing today? Well, we've got our welcome going here, uh, and then we're going to go. I asked Alexander Martin for sort of a pick of the week, and he doesn't like picking favorites, but he did suggest a couple, and I seem to be dropping frames. My stats aren't showing that. But I'm sorry if that is. I am like on a LAN connection. If I am dropping frames, it is either Comcast, StreamYard, or one of them. Uh, that's going to be all sorts of fun. Um, but we're going to do our best to get through this. I'm not showing issues. I'm showing that I'm at straight up 30 FPS and barely taxing my CPU. So hopefully we'll keep this uh, going good. Okay. Oh, I got to bring my mouse over to the other side. Um, and oh, it's gotten better. So, all right, maybe just everybody needed to buffer a little bit. So, anyways, Alexander doesn't like to pick favorites, but he did give me a few to choose from, and this one was really sort of fun. We'll look at we'll look at the snowman builder. Then we'll look at the plane, and this is sort of fun. I left the plane in my account, and Alexander and some other people started messing with it, and we found out that there was a scaling issue, which I'll discuss. And Alexander, little tilt animation on it, and we'll go from the tilt animation and see if we can add the propeller and start that spinning. So that is going to be fun. And then with the time left, we'll have Q&A, and then we'll switch over to alexa.design slash Slack, our Alexa community Slack, and we will have some APL Power Hours, APL Power Hour after hours for the goodness and wonderfulness of our community and helping everybody out. So Let's go to, do you want to build a snowman? So let me get rid of that Inkscape screen. And it's funny, we were talking about our graphics and how we do everything. Uh, and people were like, "Are you using PowerPoint?" You know, people internally were like, "Are you using PowerPoint?" And I'm like, "No, I'm using Inkscape, which is a very well known uh, SVG crafting tool that a lot of our developers use to build their build their drawings to convert into AVG for the animations." So, snowman making game. Let's play it. And this is fun because it's got a button, it's got a snowman. Let's see what we can do here. And I will go stop. Now that head is going pretty fast. Ah, try again. All right, stop. That's hard. But you know, the great thing, right, is we can go to the source code and cheat. Uh, I don't know if any of you ever tried code.org's build Flappy Bird in 15 minutes, but that was one of the early things that I taught my kids a little bit of programming with. And what was fun was I taught my son how he could cheat and get, increase his score even if he messed up. And so he just started like putting all these cheats into the free play uh, at the end of the Flappy Bird game, that at the of the make your own Flappy Bird game. He's like, I got 1,000,000 points. I'm gonna tell my friends I got 1,000,000 points. So, I'm not gonna like claim to be super awesome at this and cheat so that I can lie about my score, but cheating just so that I can have a little more help here. Let's see here. I have not actually gone through this, so I'm going to look at this and see where we can change our animation. And I think it is. Let me check something here. So we're not using Animate Item, it seems. Let's do a quick Control F. We are not using Animate Item. So I believe, are we using a tick? So help me out here. So line 359, 368, and 377. Yeah, I saw those, and those were setting the rate. I was just looking at this is actually doing the uh, thing. So let's change. So step one, 1.5. That's not a problem. Let's change step two to 0.5, and step three. Hmm. All right. That should be good. Oh, step zero. I'm sorry. We're counting from. Okay. So, yeah, let's move this to 0.8, shall we? Let's see if that makes this game easier. Good. Off kilter a little bit. Oh, that's bad. And we'll go. So we can you can look up the snowman making game and you can see how this is working. And the great thing about APL.Ninja is that you can go in and you can change these things. You can experiment with these things so you can try and understand it because, um, you know, rather than uh, using Animate Item, we're using looks like translates with, I'm guessing, a tick handler somewhere in here, but I have not found it yet. There's quite a lot of stuff going on. But this reminds me, I don't know about you. When I was a kid, and I'm a Commodore 64, we would type in programs, basic programs, 200, 300 line basic programs out of magazines. And there we go. There's our handle tick. So we're doing a clock based animation rather than an animate item. And using the translate transforms to move everything around. So this is pretty cool. And you can see how you can do the clock based animation instead of the straight up animate item, which was what I was going to do with our lovely propeller. But the great thing with the animate item is that I can do that with a rotate. So since I just want to rotate the propeller in place instead of actually like moving it, that's better. So, yeah, unfortunately, because this is so big, it often cuts off the text there, but you can see. And Yusuke Igarashi, um, awesome bit of APL, really great with our snowman. Oh, okay. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to stop embarrassing myself. One, two, three. Oh, come on. I got to get this right. That's about. All right. So, and Alexander is a. And Alexander has given us a more detailed explanation of what I was talking about. I tend to forget that not everybody watching this show is an APL expert because we do have so many APL experts in the peanut gallery, shall we say. But uh, this is, let's see here. I'm going to put the URL in the chat here and make it easier for people to find it. And we'll highlight that up there. I'll leave that highlighted for a bit. But Alexander did bring up, I didn't get deeper into it. I'm just sort of like looking at it going, oh, that's how it's done. And I'm thinking in my own terms. And he did point out, he explained it a little better than I did, and I should be thinking about that. So thank you, Alexander. Um, and he pointed out that basically two core functions of APL are being used. First, different variables are bound to the components with the data binding. And then those values are updated over and over again via the tick handler. So the tick handler is, sort we call it tick. It's basically handling the clock So you can set sort of like animation frame rates, stuff like that, or even like by the second update an animated clock. That's one of the demos that we looked at in our first APL Power Hour at the beginning of the month on February 3rd. Hey, we're on our fourth APL Power Hour. Is that cool? Fourth APL Power Hour. Not too bad. Um, and so the display is re-rendered every time the tick updates, and that's how we get the animation. So the animate item command is a useful command, and we'll probably get into that in a bit. But also, you can use the tick handler to animate things by binding specific values to the tick handler and then recalculating those values each time. So, uh, really, big thanks to Yusuke for sharing their creation uh, on APL.Ninja. Really love it. And thank you to Alexander for recommending it. And please go check it out. The great thing is you see this lovely thing here. You can fork your own copy and start making changes and save it and do all sorts of stuff and all sorts of experiments and sort of make your own upgrades and save them. So that's pretty cool. And the forking, uh, the fork feature is something that Alexander did with my airplane. Check this out. Yes, I will leave. Now this has to repaint the screen. Waiting for APL Ninja. Oh no. Okay. Well, it doesn't. I'm not. So Alexander added, you know, scaled my plane a little bit and added a little bit of a rotate with the tick handler. So this is something that I'll ask Alexander about because he's probably got more experience with it than I do. Um, we there is a rotate. Let me pull up. Let me just hold on a second here. Uh, and so if we go to our APL standard commands, and we'll add this, make this a little bigger so everybody can read. We have animate item. And so with the animate item, we can set an easing, we can set a duration. And we can set a rotate. So what I'm going to ask is, hey, yes, I hope that like nobody's getting seasick from watching that. But that's pretty cool. Now the question is, now we're doing. Alexander has updated this. Very kindly jumped in. He forked my project and jumped in on this, and so we have a. We're translating Y. We're increase rotating by 0.25. And then with the handle tick, you notice that the minimum delay is 1000 over 60, which is basically trying to set 60 frames a second. And we go here. Let's pull this down. And we're changing the rotate value, which we've got here in the transform by the increase rotate by. So, and then when the rotate hits a 15 degrees, if negative 15 degrees, we got this little toggle, which is multiplying the increase rotate by -1. So this is pretty standard animation. This is, you know, obviously you do it differently in JavaScript if you were working with the canvas, but you would do something very similar. I've done this when I've taught kids to make video games, and we're trying to, make things bounce up and down. Um, especially when you're doing like a ball bounce. If you don't have a physics engine, you're waiting until the ball hits this point, and then you're just setting the increment by -1, and then when it hits this point by -1, because when it's negative, it'll go this way, times -1, it becomes positive, goes this way, times -1 becomes negative again, goes this way. It's it's actually something I was working on with my kid earlier this year for his math class. So understanding negative times a negative, negative times a positive, those kinds of things. So that's actually it's actually really good for helping kids get more interested in math when they're actually using the math to create an animation or to build a game. Because then they really want to learn it because there's a practical application as opposed to, just having to learn it for a test. So it's always been sort of a great side effect of teaching kids to code that they get more interested in math. Uh, I see. I see. So Frank mentions you could have done the same effect with Animate Item. The only disadvantage would have been that I would have needed several Animate Item commands, one in each direction. Now, we can look at another thing here. So one of the things I want to look at is the sequence. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. Anyways, I will look that up later, because I believe that you could have a sequencer running multiple times and just have each direction sequence once. But so and so and this is, we've got this going on. I'm going to like sort of go through here with Alexander's comments because Alexander gives great insight on this. I got assigned to do APL a few months back, and I'm still learning. It's been a learning adventure to become really well versed in APL. Um, but so we'll go through his comments one at a time. Could have done the same effect with Animate Item. The only disadvantage would have been that he needed several Animate Item commands, one in each direction. But for the endless animation, it's easier to realize with the tick handler rather than Animate Item. Animate Item has a repeat property, but it only applies to one animation at a time. Since you would have two animations, the second one would never be executed if the first one runs endless. Gold Zulu says can probably fake by a high integer, but not if one at a time. And Frank says, yes, the sequential command also supports repeat count. So the thing is that you could have the sequencer with a repeat count and have the one tilt animation, then the other tilt animation within a sequencer, and then just set those to a high repeat. So, I you probably didn't, in general, you don't need it to run. I'm sorry, Frank Alexander. I I don't know why. I had a neighbor named Justin who, for like 5 years, every time I thought of him, I thought Darren, and I had to make that mental correction for like 5 years until it just became natural. So, um, I might, you know, uh, I might just, I'm trying to say Alexander, but for some reason in my head there is a Frank is lodged. I think it's because at one point I was thinking that I think I had swapped you and Frank Bornke uh, in my head, and now that I've got it sorted out, I still occasionally say Frank. So, but Frank is also really an amazing APL artist who's done some really cool stuff. Um, so let's see here. If we were going to bring in my lovely, I'm like, oh wow, do I really want to try and do this? Um, huh. Well, here's a thing. So one of the great things that Alexander pointed out to me is that APL Ninja has a wonderful drag and drop feature, and I do have just the propeller as an image, but I need to make sure that I resize page to content here. And that's in millimeters. I want it in pixels. And we want to make everything pixels. Units, pixels, display units, pixels. There we go. When I change display units to pixels, so I'll show you this. I don't know how well you can see it. Let's see here, magnifier. Let's bring the magnifier out over. Ugh. So anyways, you can see it here. Now that I changed the display units to pixels, it changed the scale to 0.26458. Probably one of the reasons I was having some scaling issues with the thing. Okay. Come on. How do we get out of the magnifier? Oh. Okay, this is like the first time I've used magnifier in a long time. There we go. There's that. We're going to close the magnifier. We're back. We're back. Okay. But as you can see, this is probably what was causing my scaling issues. When I switched everything down to pixels, it made my scale to 0.2648. Now, if I change that back one, I'll show you here. If I change that back to one, it is now made my propeller just a small fraction of the size that it, oops, a small fraction of the size that it originally was. So we'll bring this out like that. We'll just resize the page drawing and save that. All right. So, got that. Let's see if we can drag and drop that propeller onto this and have it added because I tried it with the plane and it worked pretty well. See, okay. So we've got the propeller now added. Notice we're getting a width of 100 by 100, which is odd. This was something I noticed last night when I did this with another thing that I had rescaled back up to one. Um, but let me go through, and that would be width 243 and height 50. So we've got that, and now we're seeing the whole propeller. And we will add. So we've got the propeller in there. We've got it scaled best fit. Let's move it up a bit. All righty. All right, maybe that's not what I want. Just a moment. Ah, so Alexander has got a demo with the thing. All right, so I want to move this, and I'm going to go. The thing is that I always look at the docs. I am like always looking at the docs. So I've got an image here, vector graphic, and these are my properties, all base component properties, all touchable properties, all actionable component properties. And so we have like all these different properties that are common. So these are the common properties here, and that's for actionable, and that's for touchable. But notice that these are mostly actionable and touchable are all about something happening to them. And then these are our basic properties. All right. And our APL vector graphic, line, scale, and source. So wait, I want to get rid of my touchable and actionables. So we got the base component and the vector graphics. All right, I'm just scrolling through this, looking at some things because I want to make sure that I find, you know, part of this is that you got to find the content in the docs. This is how we all learn. So we have a bunch of these, and which would be the best to use? So if we were to do a transform here, move it. Now this is just the transform that we copied out of there, and then we can fix it in different ways. Now I don't want to scale X and I don't want to rotate, but I do want to translate X and Y. And if we got everything else sort of centered, what if we do -50 VH? I think it's because it needs to be in quotes. That's yeah, so there we go. So we're doing it as a proportion of the screen height. We're almost there. Now, one of the things is that when we come back into this, and we will at a later date, um, I need to set the axis on which my plane is rotating, not to sort of the center where it's rotating now, because as you can see, it's rotating where the propeller is. And we really want it to sort of rotate around the propeller. So we would need to set, uh, and the name of that command is just getting me. We actually, if I were to go, and here's another thing, like I remember seeing this used APL.ninja. I remember seeing this used in the pinwheel. You set the rotation point. So I can look it up, or I can go to a document that I know used it, right? So let's see if we can find Alexander's pinwheel. And it's not in featured at the moment, but we can always do pinwheel. Jeff Blankenberg's Twitch stream intro. We can open this in the editor. And you notice here we've got the pivot X and pivot Y. So this is something that we need to do in our plane to make it rotate around its nose. So, let's just put them in and see what happens. So we're getting better, but main thing is we actually sort of have to figure out aha. So there's a I've been messing with this, and there's been some discussion of it in chat about the fact that you'll see, like, when I do this, if I were to go VH and it's not in comments, it's not in quotes, my APL document is syntactically incorrect and can be displayed. That's because it hot reloads. Um, and so that can be disconcerting while you're working on something. So you can always turn off live update. And you'll see the error, right? It's already getting parsed. This is going to be really weird when we live update it again. You can turn the live update back on. It's not really weird at all. What if it's 5 1000 VH. No, not weird at all. What if it's 5? So it's actually not even having an effect. So I am editing the plane. I see. So I need to move my pivot, not from the plane, but to the item. Not the items in the graphics, but the items here. So this is my container for the plane. And so now I'll experiment. Does the pivot make a difference here? Really? So, but that's the container. Now we've got the actual vector graphic. Let's see what happens here. Oh, so I'm experimenting. This is how it works. If I had like hours to figure this out, if I had time to figure this out before, I would have just like been cutting and pasting, and you would have thought, "Oh, Greg's so awesome at this; he knows everything." And instead, no, Greg doesn't know everything. Greg is learning just like the rest of you. Um, Greg's just good at talking on camera. So let's see here. I am going to figure out where I put that. Add the pivot X to the propeller. Yeah, well, I actually wanted to um, add that to the plane because I want to stop the little nose thing from moving. I want the plane to pivot around the point, pivot around the center of that point. So I will figure out where I need to put that and what values I need to have it at. And we'll get back to the plane next week. This is Frank is saying, Alexander is saying, scroll up. I have scrolled up, Alexander. Stop. I can't scroll up any further. Plane has a mustache now. Yes, eventually the plane will have a propeller sitting right over that. Go to line 50. Okay, cool. But that is so line 50 is the okay, but I'm here at line 50. And there's like a 2 or 3 second delay on this, so it's sort of like speaking with a moon mission. Propeller starts at line 48. Yes, I get that. Thank you. Um, and for everybody else, uh, as you'll notice, uh, a name for the graphic is generated. I could always change these, like 1RB0XV and 7BEI6Z. I can change these to like plane and propeller, and then down here, change them to plane and propeller. to make my stuff more readable. This is the machine version where these have been interpreted by the by the drag and drop. So at 55, add the pivot to the type group. Okay. I always like my code to line up. And so I've added a pivot to the propeller, but I want to add the pivot here to my plane. Oh, that's interesting. My plane isn't grouped. Where is it? Wait. Gold Zulu saying, we need a graphics engine. And so I've added it to the items here, items, type, path. So that's interesting. The plane is not the plane is a bunch of items. They're just not as a group. Although I did apparently grouped the propeller. So let's see here. So I can literally just copy out this bind and handle tick and add them to my vector graphic here. So let's see what happens if I add this all here. I'm going to totally mess up my okay. So I believe we need another. Now, I hate it when I mess up my brackets. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fork this. I don't think it'll let me fork it if there's an error in it. Is that miss the closing bracket? Okay. Do I need another one? Let's see here. Okay. Can't fork a broken document. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo my change. And now I've got this where this is. I'm going to fork it and call it plain midpoint. And I'm going to save it as a public document so everyone can mess with it. And then we will mess with it for the next week and come back to it next week where it'll be a lot better and we can look at how the changes improved it. Because my main point is I want to get the plane rotating around the center of this circle here so that this circle is not moving. And then I want to put color over that circle and rotate it. So that's what I'm going to try and do in the next week. And I'm going to figure that out along with a whole ton of stuff on my plate for work. And we will see you with that next week. And so this is plain midpoint. You'll be able to look it up on APL Ninja if you want to play with it and show me up. I am happy to be shown up. I am happy to have members of our community shine, uh, make me look the fool because I'm all about making everybody better with APL, hopefully including me. Um, and if I got to look the fool to help everybody else, I will put on clown makeup. Uh, yeah, I just realized that Gold Zulu's probably going to start mentioning that every week now. All right, so we're going to shut down our uh, plain midpoint. Let's make sure that we've saved it. Yes, we can leave. 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 And we will come back here. We've played with the plane. It is time for Q&A. Also, here, I'm going to put this on here. So this is my Twitter handle at Let My People Code. If we bring that down, you see that lovely up here with tablet containing the commandments and binary. And so tweet at me. Hit me up, Greg Bulmash on the community Slack. Tweet at me on Twitter. Let me know what problems you're having, what successes you're having. Let's celebrate your successes. Just share stuff with me on Twitter and on the Slack. Let me know, and let's all just support each other and keep this going, and make some really cool APL animations and APL stuff. Because I'm working on a little game. Hopefully, I can get that done by the end of the month. That'll be really fun. But yeah, for me and for everyone else, it's a game of trial and error as you get good. It's not until you've done this a number of times that you get as good as somebody like Alexander, aka Frank. So um, hit me up, follow me on Twitter, at me on Twitter. You know, let me know what you're up to. Share your really cool APL.ninja documents. Because we'll do a pick of the week every week. And this snowman is Yusuke's snowman is just the beginning. Let's really look at some fun animations on and just fun uses. I mean, even if it's just a really really interesting design that has done some cool stuff with APL, point it out to me on apl.ninja and we'll have fun with it. We got 4 minutes left. Time for one question. If he's got a question they want to ask, we'll start that with the community. But then remember that we are going to go over to alexa.design/Slack for APL Power Hour After Hours. And we are going to keep this going a little bit. If you have questions, ask them there. That way, they get saved for people browsing the APL channel on our Slack. Um, and it's a really great resource and it's fun to engage with your fellow community members. I love it. So head on over there. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. APL.ninja got a DDoS attack today. Getting famous. Wow. I am both happy and sad for you. Sad because nobody likes being attacked. That kind of stuff is just terrible. But happy for you in that, hey, you're getting popular enough to be a target. So, um, happy, sad. It's really a great thing. But remember, go to alexa.design/Slack. We will carry this on. Oh, nice. Okay, we will carry this on over there, and we will have some Q&A, and bring your questions. Um, uh, so, yeah, who knows? Maybe rather than a DDoS, you got like a really aggressive indexing bot. You just got this crawler that was not being very respectful at all. Um, but yeah, we've got 2 minutes left. We're gonna call it a show. Remember, tweet at me, hit me up, let me know what you're doing, share with me your successes and your consternations. Uh, and you can do that also here at our community Slack because we really want to hear from you. And we will be back here next Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, um, which will be the last Pacific Standard Time before we go to Pacific Daylight Time. So, for those of you who don't do daylight savings, if our clock jumps forward, that means that we will be starting an hour earlier. We'll be going from GMT -8 to GMT -7. Wow. um, yeah, we'll be going from GMT -8 to GMT -7. First Sunday in March, I believe. So so in 2 weeks we'll be at we'll be an hour early. We'll be starting an hour earlier. Um, but from then on, uh, happy to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. I will see you over on the Slack. Be good, be wonderful, be excellent to each other. And as Dr. Seuss says, nobody is youer than you. So enjoy being you today and every day. Thanks for joining. All right.